Yesterday, I told you that the real problem underneath your broken consistency is not discipline, it is a trust crisis with yourself. And if you have watched that video and felt the weight of it, you are probably sitting right now with a question that sounds something like this. Okay, I hear you, I believe you, but what do I actually do with that information starting today? That is what this video answers, and I am going to be specific because vague instructions are what got you into the cycle in the first place. What I am about to walk you through is called the Promise Audit, and it is the single most effective tool I have found for rebuilding the relationship between who you say you are and what you actually do every day. It takes less than 10 minutes. The first time you run it, it takes less than 2 minutes. Every day after that, and the people who have been the Luminaries HQ are reporting results that I genuinely did not expect when we first started testing this. So before I give you the protocol, I need you to understand why your previous attempts at keeping promises to yourself have not worked. Because if you do not understand the failure mechanism, you will repeat it even with better tools. Most people make promises to themselves the way they make wishes. They aim high, they feel the inspiration of the moment, and they commit to something that the best version of themselves could probably sustain, but that the actual current version of themselves has no record of delivering. You have been setting your commitment based on who you want to become instead of who you have actually proven yourself to be right now. That gap is where every restart dies. If you have not consistently kept a promise to yourself in the last 30 days, you do not get to promise yourself a 5 a.m. wake up and a 90-minute morning routine and a daily gym session and a journaling practice. That is not ambition. That is a setup for failure. And somewhere inside you already knows that because you have watched this exact movie play out before. The Promise Audit starts from a completely different place. It starts from your actual current capacity, not the capacity you wish you had. Here is how you run a Promise Audit, and I'm going to walk through each piece slowly because the details matter more than the concept. Get a piece of paper or a blank note on your phone. This does not need to be elaborate, and write down every commitment you have currently made to yourself. Every single one, written or unwritten, formal or informal, the gym membership you are paying for, the book you told yourself you would finish, the morning routine you designed, the project you said you would start, the diet you are technically on, and the habit you are theoretically building. Write them all down and do not edit the list. Do not leave things off because they feel embarrassing or small, or because you already know you have not been doing them. The whole list, everything you have told yourself you would do that you are not currently doing. Now look at that list, and I want you to notice something that most people have never noticed before. The length of that list is the exact measure of the debt you hold to yourself. Every item on it that you are not actively doing is an open, broken promise, and your nervous system is carrying the weight of every single one of them, even though your conscious mind has filed most of them as things you will get to eventually. There is no eventually. There is doing it, or there is admitting clearly and out loud that you are not doing it, and the space between those two options is where your self-trust goes to die. Every item on your list falls into one of three categories, and sorting them is where the audit becomes powerful. Category 1 is promises you are going to keep starting now at a scale you can actually sustain given your current track record. Category 2 is promises you are officially releasing, not filling out quietly, not postponing even indefinitely, releasing, which means you say out loud or write down clearly that you are choosing not to do this right now and you are no longer carrying it. Category 3 is promises you are redesigning because the commitment was right but the scale was wrong. The gym 5 days a week becomes a gym twice a week. and the full morning routine becomes 10 minutes of the most important piece of it. Here is the part that most people resist, and I need you to hear me on this because this is where the audit either works or becomes another thing you tried once. Category 2, the promise you release, that is not failure. Releasing a commitment you are not keeping is the most honest and self-respecting thing you can do. Because carrying a promise you have no intention of fulfilling is a form of self-deception, and self-deception is the enemy of everything we are building here. The luminaries who have run these audits and come out the other side with real traction did not come out with longer lists of commitments. They came out with shorter lists of commitments they actually keep. I want to tell you about a specific result because I think it will reframe what you think this process is for. One of the members of Luminaries HQ ran a Promise Audit on a Tuesday evening and came back with a list of 14 open commitments she was carrying. 14 promises she has made to herself across the last year that she was technically still working on, but had not actively touched in weeks or months. She kept 3, she released 8, and she redesigned 3. The next morning, she told the community that she felt physically lighter, and I remember reading that message and thinking she was being metaphorical, but she was not. She said it felt like she had been carrying a backpack full of rocks that she had packed one at a time over the course of a year, and each rock was so small when she picked it up that she never noticed the weight accumulating. The audit did not add anything to her life. It removed the invisible weight of promises she was never going to keep, but had never given herself permission to put down. That is what self-deception costs you. It costs you energy you do not even realize you are spending, and the release of that energy is what creates the capacity to actually follow through on the promises that remain. I watched another member, a man who had been restarting the same fitness commitment for over a year, run his audit and realized that he had been promising himself the version of fitness that belonged to his 20s, not the version that fits its current life with 2 kids and a demanding job. He redesigned one commitment, working for 30 minutes, 3 days a week, and kept it for 6 straight weeks without a single miss. 6 weeks of consistency after a year of restarts, not because he found more willpower, but because he finally promised himself something his actual life could deliver. I know what some of you are thinking because I thought it too when I first encountered this idea. You are thinking that this sounds like settling, like lowering the bar, like accepting less from yourself when the whole point is supposed to be growth and ambition and becoming more than you currently are. I want to take that objection seriously because it deserves to be taken seriously, and there is genuine wisdom in the discomfort you feel when someone tells you to promise less. The wisdom is this: you should never permanently lower your ceiling, you should temporarily lower your floor. The person who works 30 minutes 3 times a week is not settling for a life without fitness. They are rebuilding the trust foundation that will eventually support the 5-day-a-week training program they actually want. But they cannot get to the training program by promising themselves the training program because their nervous system has already cataloged every time they promised that and failed. They have to get there by proving through kept promises at a sustainable scale that their word to themselves means something again. The bar goes up, but it goes up because you earn the right to raise it through consistent follow through, not because you wish it higher. That is the difference between ambition and self-deception. And most of the people in this space have been confusing the two for years. Here is a diagnostic that will tell you immediately whether the promises you are carrying are real commitment or performance. Ask yourself yourself this about each item on your list. If nobody ever knew whether I did this or not, or would I still do it? If the answer is yes, that is a real commitment grounded in identity and it belongs in your kept pile. If the answer is no, or if you hesitate, that commitment is not for you. It is for an audience. It is for the version of yourself you want other people to see, and it has no business on your promise audit because performed consistency is the enemy of the real thing. The kept list after an honest audit is usually embarrassingly small, and that is exactly the point. 3 promises you actually keep are worth more than 30 promises you carry around like decorative ambitions. The luminaries who are building real change right now, the ones who are actually moving through the wishing to choosing to building to becoming act, they are not the ones with the longest list. They are the ones who made the shortest list and kept every single item. You do not need anyone's permission to start this. You need a decision. Here is a daily practice, and it will take you less than 2 minutes every single night. Before you go to sleep, look at your kept list, the short one, the honest one, and ask yourself one question about each item. Did I keep this promise today? Yes or no? Not mostly, not kind of, not I meant to, but something came up. Yes or no? That is it. There is no scoring. There is no tracking app. There is no elaborate system to build around this. Yes means you deposited trust. No means you withdrew it, and the balance of that account over the next 30 days will tell you more about who you are becoming than any goal sheet or vision board ever could. And when you mark a no, which you will, because everyone does, the instruction is not to spiral. The instruction is not to restart. The instruction is not to redesign your entire system at 11 p.m. The instruction is to reset fast with no drama. Make the same promise for tomorrow and keep it then. Fall off, reset fast, no drama. That is the luminary standard, and it is the difference between people who build lasting change and people who build elaborate restart rituals. The hardest part of running my own promise audit was not the sorting, it was the length of the original list. I had been carrying over 20 open commitments to myself, some of them dating back over a year, and I had organized my entire internal narrative around the idea that I was working on all of them simultaneously. I was not working on any of them. I was performing the identity of someone who works on things, and the performance was so convincing that I had fooled the only person who needed to not be fooled, which was myself. When I released 14 of those 20 commitments, I felt the same thing that woman in our community described. I felt physically lighter, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt like the gap between who I said I was and who I actually was had started to close. That gap is the most expensive thing you will ever carry, and the promise audit is the first honest accounting of what it has been costing you. The next video answers the question that follows naturally from here. If the system you have been using to get productive is actually the thing keeping you unproductive, what does a real approach to getting things done look like when you strip away all the optimization theater? If you watch this entire video and recognize yourself in it, you already know what you are. The Luminaries HQ, you can join us, the link in the description. Come find your people, like-minded people. Tonight, I want you to run a promise audit. Write every open commitment on a single page. Sort them into keep, release, or design, and go to bed with a list short enough that you can actually keep every item on it. That is your assignment, and it is due tonight. Luminaries keep their promise list short and their follow-through rate high because discipline is a skill built on trust, and trust is built one kept promise at a time. Till I see you again, shine on.